So the magnitude of this project was that we wanted to rebuild the flybridge in its entirety and create a hardtop, a full enclosure, and a living space that we could enjoy both while cruising, during the day, and in the evening, and would accommodate 6 to 10 guests comfortably. I started to look for folks who would help me with that project, who were experienced in that kind of work and could work with me in a design-build environment. And so I talked with Bob McKnight, whom I've worked with many times on previous boats, and talked with him about the potential of using this the winter to rebuild the flybridge, add a hardtop, and add some new equipment to the boat. So we found a boathouse in North Vancouver that just fit this boat by inches, and so we put this boat in the boathouse. Over the course of the next 8 months, Bob and his team worked with me in stripping the flybridge clean, and in the process we removed a hot tub, a built-in barbecue, a built-in bar counter, some seating, and we completely stripped the helm station down to bare. After that, we did some work to level the floor of the flybridge. So one of the parts of this project that became apparent to us early on in the transformation was that the existing deck was deteriorating. We attempted to clean it up and to try to repair parts of the deck that were bad, but it became obvious after a couple of days of work that unfortunately the entire deck had to be removed and we had to build a new deck. And so we worked with Bob and his team to build a template of the entire deck, and we contracted with Teak Decking Systems in Sarasota, Florida to build an entire teak deck for the flybridge as well as the main deck and the swim grid. And so they templated the entire deck in their facility in Florida. Bob and Rick from Wright Mariner and I went to Florida and visited the shop a couple of times to oversee and just take a look at the work that they were doing in putting the deck together. Once Teak Decking finished building the deck, they reboxed it in panels and shipped it or trucked it up here, and we picked the deck up literally out of a semi-trailer that was loaded in Florida, and we picked it up here at Lionsgate Marina and unloaded it piece by piece and put it on the boat so that we could then install it on the deck. The process of installing it included and involved stripping the entire old deck off, templating the deck, rebuilding the sub-deck. We included a plywood sub-deck that was epoxied in and was completely waterproof itself before we ever applied the teak decking work. The teak decking itself included half-inch thick teak battens that were bonded into panels that were anywhere from 2 to 4 feet wide and anywhere from 1.5 feet to 25 feet long. Bob and his crew then took those panels and epoxied those to the floor or to the subfloor and secured them down, aligned them, and caulked in between the panels to complete the finished deck. And the finished deck was done in about 12 days' time from the time that the deck material arrived here at Lionsgate. So it was quite an effort to do and consume most of the month of March to install the deck. So Bob McKnight and his team coordinated all of the work that we did and worked with me almost on a daily basis to allow me to lay out the flybridge cabinetry so that it would accommodate what we were looking for, and we included in that a sink, a gas cooktop, a refrigerator, plenty of storage, an ice maker, and a standalone freezer for those fish that we hope to catch. We also provided lots of seating. It was very important to us that we had a table that would seat 8 people and that we had plenty of room for the helm chairs. We also redesigned the helm station and reconfigured all of the electronics in that station. When we built the flybridge cabinetry and we put it all together, we realized that the barbecue was actually underneath the hardtop and inside the enclosed area, which we didn't think was going to be safe. So we decided to build a new barbecue cabinet to go out on the aft deck, and so we retrofitted the retrofit, or changed the changes to move the barbecue outside and put it on the back end of the boat, back end of the deck. The mechanical work that we did down below included installing a stern thruster. The boat did not have that, so we had to install that. We reworked all of the water pumping. We moved all of the water pumps from under one of the berths into the engine room, so that they could be accessed a little more readily, and that we kept all the equipment in the proper equipment space. One of the projects that Bob took on and his team did was to reconfigure some oil tanks that were on the boat. The boat was originally designed with two 50-gallon tanks that were intended to hold fresh oil and waste oil, with the idea that you could possibly change oil on the engines while you're away from shore. Well, we didn't really need that kind of configuration, so we repurposed those tanks, thoroughly cleaned them out, properly sanitized them, and repurposed those to be additional holding tanks for the boat, so that we increased the holding tank capacity on the boat. And so that gave us then a total of about 400 gallons of fresh water and about 250 gallons of holding tank space for the boat, which for our purposes and for our cruising plans was a lot more convenient and a lot more appropriate for our needs. So I was very happy that I asked Bob McKnight and Wright Mariner to take this project on. It is a large project. It was a great project for a winter operation. It worked out very well for me to have someone like Bob and his team who would work with me as the project moved along. I learned early on that Bob's approach to things is to make decisions or recommendations based on what he would do if he owned the boat, and I liked that very much, and that became a real advantageous part of this project, as Bob would often make recommendations and suggestions that were truly beneficial to the project and made the end result a whole lot better. Bob's team worked on the project all winter in the boathouse, allowed me to work side by side with them on many days when I would come up and visit Vancouver and visit the project through the winter. And overall, the end result is one that I could not be more pleased with. I think Bob and his team not only were very professional, they're very helpful, very friendly, and very interested in doing a great job. Many days we would be on some task or some part of the project that we wanted to finish, and we'd actually stay a little bit later in the day and make sure that we finished that project, that part of the project that day. And so I appreciated that very much. Bob and his team were completely dedicated to helping me accomplish the vision that we had for transforming this boat. I couldn't be happier with Bob and his team and the work they did, and I would have no hesitation in recommending them for any project that you might be contemplating on your boat. When it came to things like the hardtop and the deck, and Bob knew that those were parts of the project that were just a bit beyond his scope to handle himself. So he was wise enough to find the right people that we could work with to get the project done on time and at the level that he knew that we needed to accomplish for the project. Bob and his team knew that the vision that we had for this boat was one that would involve a lot of hours and a lot of work and a lot of creativity. And they were very happy to accommodate that, teach me quite a bit along the way about how boats are put together and what makes things right on a boat and not right on a boat. And his team could not have been more helpful and professional, and they just did a great job. I think that the quality of the work that they did and the appropriateness and the correctness of the work they did for the project that we had in mind was just perfect.